Welcome to Sovereign Finance, the show that connects the dots between personal finance, global finance trends, and deep human history. Tune in every week to demystify the money puzzle and protect your interests in a turbulent world. Welcome to the first episode of Sovereign Finance. My name's Rob Drummond. I'm your host for the podcast. I'm here with Derek Dearden, who's going to be your guide. Hi, Derek.
Hi, Rob.
We met each other at a Perry Marshall event about 10 years ago, and Perry is a semi-well-known business consultant guru, but his thing is that he's trying to encourage a new renaissance, and a new renaissance based on people taking sovereign control of their destiny. And we've been talking recently, and finance is a major part of this. And I was thinking back to my own entrepreneurial journey, and I work in marketing. I'm a marketer by trade. And when I first got in business, I remember going to networking meetings, and all of the finance people were all wearing suits, and they all kind of huddle off into the corner to speak their own special finance language. And I just kind of decided that it wasn't my ballpark. I didn't need to really engage with that. And I think for the longest time, even within my own business, I didn't take responsibility enough for it. And only in the last few years have I realised, in particular after a succession of accountants have made a monstrous mess of my accounting system, it's like, you know what, I have to take control of this. I have to step up to the plate. So there's two factors that I think we're going to discuss. There's taking control of your own finances in terms of understanding what do you need to understand on a practical level. But then there's big movements in the tectonic plates of the world as to overall financial trends. Is the fiat money system going to collapse, which we think it almost certainly is? Do you need to pay attention to cryptocurrency? Possibly. So these are the things that we're going to discuss. And I wondered how all that resonated with you, Derek.
Yeah, 100%. I've actually been running my own enterprises pretty well all my life. When I came out of university, I worked in various jobs, very often in the computer software development area. I did a spell as an investment analyst in a London stockbroker. So I've seen the conventional financial world close up in reality. And I've also been keeping an eye on that over the years since then and seeing the way that it's evolved. And I would say not in a good way. After about half a dozen jobs spread over 3 or 4 years, I then set out on my own, sometimes very successfully, sometimes less so, sometimes as an individual, sometimes with 2 or 3 partners. And again, it's mostly been in the area of designing electronic equipment and designing computer software, and very often designing embedded systems, which involve both hardware and software working together. But once again, like Rob, initially I didn't really have a grasp of the basics of accountancy. I thought that would be best left to somebody else. One of the businesses that I ran, which was quite successful for a short while, and then we all fell out with each other. We had 3 people, and basically we were all technical people. And if you're going to have a number of different people in the business, one of the things I've realised is that you really want one operations person, one finance person, and one marketing person. And if you're doing it all yourself, you have to at least have a grasp of each of those areas enough to keep it under wraps. And I've come to the conclusion that actually the finance part of it, which is regarded as both boring by a lot of practical people and arcane and difficult, is actually not that difficult to do if you set about it in the right organised kind of way. And that's one of the areas we'll be covering on this sequence. And then, as Rob said, we need to also realise that we're operating within the wider context of what is going on in the world all around us. certainly in the early 1980s, I had a period of very great success. And towards the end of the 1980s, when I had a breakup with my two business partners, I took 6 months out to extensively rebuild and enlarge my house. And then I came back to business. And it took me years to understand in retrospect that I was completely blindsided by the fact that the the world outside had shifted and that the boom times that we'd been through were no longer there, and also that the particular skills I had, which were highly saleable at the beginning of the 1980s, had in the meantime become more or less commodified. So we'll be looking at the situation that's unfolding in the world. And we'll also, I hope, be demystifying the black art of economics. Economics is regarded as something that's arcane and mysterious. We're not really taught very much about it at school, and what we are told is probably, for the most part, not accurate. And
I did economics at A level, and I remember drawing a lot of graphs that were based on the assumption of certain things holding true.
Yeah.
It was ceteris paribus was the saying, wasn't
yes,
it?
other things being equal.
Yeah. Correct.
Yeah, exactly. And of course they're not in the real world. And it's interesting. It tries to be a science. It very much appears to suffer from what is called physics envy. Everybody's trying to be Newtonian, even though Newton has now been supplanted for more than 100 years by relativity and quantum theory, which are far less mechanical. But it's plainly not a science in any real sense of the word, because in any real science, if you have a theory and real world experience turns out differently than the theory, then you abandon the theory and look for another one. And in economics, that doesn't seem to apply.
So I think you're on the right podcast. You're on the right show. Get subscribed. If you are a small business owner, or perhaps plan to be one day, you've got aspirations to run your own business. You know that you haven't been taught certain things about finance. You know that you need to get a handle on this. You're also concerned about the state of the world, and you can sense that things are changing, and you need to know what's going on in order to try and protect your interests. I'd like to just round off with I read a lot, and I read by Ursula K. Le Guin. I'm reading one of her interviews at the moment, and she has a comment in it where she says, "Isn't the real question this? Is the work worth doing? Am I a human being working for what I really need and want, or for what the state or the advertisers tell me I want? Do I choose? I think that's what anarchism comes down to. Do I let my choices be made for me and so go along with the power game, or do I choose and accept the responsibility for my choice? In other words, am I going to be a machine part or a human being? And we want everyone listening to this to be human beings." See you on the next episode.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Sovereign Finance. For more episodes, transcripts, in-depth articles, and community, please take a minute now to subscribe free at sovereignfinance.substack.com. See you next time.